Hello everyone, Tantris Fantano today, internet's laziest music nerd, and today we're gonna dive into Duster, the saddest band you've probably already heard of. Duster is an indie rock band based out of San Jose, California, formed by multi-instrumentalist Dove Amber and Clay Parton, who were, up until very recently, a very obscure group known only by the most hardcore of music nerds. Currently, they are most notable for their album Stratosphere, released in February 1998, during which they participated in what's now known as the space rock revival, a new type of neo-psychedelia that draws from the more minimal basics to basics approach of the expansive movement that is now known as space rock. The founder of Duster's label, Up Records, died suddenly in the early 2000s, so an already obscure band went out of print and fell into obscurity, until they were found many years later in some offshoot 4chan thread. I would say in the age of the internet, Duster is probably one of those indie rock defining moments, as it's one of those gems we didn't know we would find. Many bands of this era started embracing more clean guitar tones, and a less abrasive and more sensitive approach to their music. Similar to other groups such as Modest Mouse, or dare I say it, Jawbreaker and Elliott Smith towards the end of the 90s. So while we're at it, I guess we should jump right into Stratosphere. First notable thing about the way that this album was recorded is that it was on a 4-track tape. The tape hiss and the cavernous sound start the listener off with a bleak adventure on which to be embarked. And unlike many artists who come bursting through the gates with loud guitars and a very grandiose sound, I wouldn't even say that Duster has an edge that it's trying to sharpen, but rather a sort of dullness that they're only trying to make more so, by which they somehow have gone in the opposite direction of most contemporary rock acts, and yet have the same emotional impact, not becoming stale or insipid or something that you just really wouldn't want to put on for the next 30 to 40 minutes. In regard to this album's modern popularity, I would also say that this really speaks to the doomer and people who are very much into the Wojak meme, as Duster is one of those bands that I can't really imagine a normal, well-to-do person listening to for enjoyment. This thing is incredibly dark, as it conjures up imagery that goes perfectly with hopelessness, dejection, depression, social alienation. I would say one of my favorite cuts off this entire LP is Inside Out, with its downstrokes and the completely hopeless, glum-sounding guitar tones. A few standout moments for this record include Moon Age, which features a droning organ complemented by a few heavily distorted notes from an electric guitar. It honestly feels like you're walking into the room on Duster, as they're just jamming and getting ready to play the entire album. What with the beat and the noodling guitar, suddenly the drums stop and you're greeted with Head for the Door, where the sound again feels a bit familiar for people who might enjoy late 90s emo. Again, I'm reminded of Jawbreaker and the semi-distorted guitars and the crunchy tones, the tape hiss, the low production quality. The guitars kind of bounce up and down with the trance as the vocals lead you towards the end of the song. Gold Dust at its core, for some reason, always brings to mind either or. I can't exactly shake the suspicion that they were aware of each other at the end of the 90s during this period of rock music. That's to say Elliott Smith and Duster. Given the use of drop D and the emphasis on hitting the tonic note of this song, if you immediately put this one on and then listen to something like Speed Trials, I think you would understand exactly what I mean. Other spacier cuts, including The Landing, actually make me feel like I'm walking on the surface of Mars with a fifth of vodka. Unsure of how to drink it through my spacesuit, but I'm drunk anyway. The song that really propelled the band to fame, Inside Out, has to be one of the most emotional defeated pieces on the entire LP. Now, unless you've truly hit rock bottom in your life, I can't picture a neurotypical person listening to this and really feeling a sense of joy. I can see how someone who is constantly in a state of despair and sort of given up on life, how they could enjoy a record like this one. Comments on these videos often say that this is the song where you can easily imagine yourself as the protagonist of the music video. Songs like Constellations, which seriously feels like a space lullaby where you're drifting across the sky and each little guitar note is the twinkle of a little star. Not to be cheesy, but as you absorb the sounds, the emotions surge. Now, my personal favorite track on this entire LP, Stratosphere, was reportedly recorded on a junk keyboard with blown out speakers. But this thing is emotionally intense and heavy enough to even make some of the most cheerful people despondent and pretty glum. So yeah, anyone who's considering listening to the entire thing through and through, just I would say be prepared for some dark, heavy-hitting moments. When asked to describe the emotions stirred by sad music, people often paint a picture of drama and self-indulgence. Maybe someone who is unwilling to smile, very brooding, and very hesitant to ever show themselves in the spotlights. And I feel that Duster is the poster child for anybody who experiences such dejection, as they are fed up with modern society and need that band to sort of serenade them along the way as their everyday is simply lacking in hope, etc. The songwriting on this thing isn't exactly single-driven. Many of the tracks are atmospheric, transporting you to almost another world. And the other thing to notice is that these tracks flow really, really nicely. It's also notable to consider that despite how much music has been released since February of 1998 and February of 2024, Duster's Stratosphere almost sounds like it could have been released 4, even 3 years ago by some obscure YouTube band with a limited recording and production quality, and decided to say, screw it, we're going to post this thing onto YouTube for anybody to hear. When there are no lyrics, it's almost as though Dove and Clay are inviting you to create a story for yourself and to fill in the blanks for your own feelings. If there's really one sentence or two that I could use to describe Duster, it's like an idealist who is fairly self-aware and has realized that most of his dreams will probably never come true. Or at least if they do, they won't bring him as much happiness as he once thought when he was younger. While the album might seem a bit meandering, it resonates with the sort of uncertainty and aimlessness that one might feel in a spiritual desert. And on the topic of deserts, I wouldn't even say like a warm desert, like Antarctica or something, as you're walking through trying to find your way and this thing is just droning in the background. But that's how I would pretty much sum out this album. I'm thinking of a solid 13 on this thing. Transition, did you give this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. Please subscribe and don't cry. Make sure to hit that like button and I will see you next time. Thank you.